So welcome everyone. If this is your first panel here with Menti, welcome. If you were here last week, welcome back. Today we are going to be exploring computer science majors across 4 different colleges, and we have an incredible group of panelists here ready to answer questions and give advice for their college experiences. They will be sharing insights into, course offerings, different professors, internship opportunities, and more. So this is a great way for high school students and other students who are interested in gaining insights into these majors to get their their questions answered. So I am going to give our panelists now a second to introduce themselves. They are going to tell you where they are from, their school. They are all computer science majors, but some of them are double majors as well. And they are also going to be sharing their favorite computer science class that they've taken or a favorite experience. So first up, we have Iman. So would you like to get us started, please?
Hi, I'm Iman. I'm from Seattle and currently studying politics, philosophy, and economics at Claremont McKenna and CS at Harvey Mudd. And I think my favorite CS class that I've ever taken was computer science logic and algorithms.
Thank you very much. And before our next panelists introduce themselves, we are actually going to put up a quick poll question for our attendees. So Jason, if you could go ahead and launch that. This is just so that we can get an understanding of what you all want to hear today, and we can start to gear our panel towards that. So we will give you a little bit of time to answer those questions, but in the meantime, Shubu, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shubu, just graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in computer science. And I think the coolest thing I've done regarding CS is the distributed systems class. Kind of fancy stuff, but it's basically the way all big computing works today. And I think it's a pretty cool concept that I got to learn.
I can go ahead and go next. Hi, I'm Jisoo. I am a senior currently at Swarthmore College, and I'm originally from Centralia, Washington. I am majoring in computer science, but I'm also minoring in linguistics and environmental studies. And the most interesting CS class I've taken is probably computational linguistics, where I got to build a rule-based machine translation system for an indigenous language.
Hi, I'm John. I'm from San Francisco, California, and I'm a senior right now at Brown University. I'm just studying computer science, but the most interesting class that I've taken here was a robotics class where we built drones from scratch and then programmed them to fly autonomously.
That is super cool. I will just go ahead and let our audience know that I took one computer science class. I think it was intro, and I realized that my brain just does not work that way, and econ and psych were much more my thing. So I think we have actually gotten most of you all to answer these poll questions, and it seems like most of you are looking to hear about things that you wish you knew before college, as well as campus facilities and student support. So we'll make sure that we tailor some of our questions and answers around that as we continue through this webinar. Perfect. So without further ado, I think we're just going to get started with our very first question. How this will work today is that we have some pre-prepared questions, but our audience members, if you have questions that come up, you're welcome to enter them in the chat in that Q&A, and we will prioritize those as much as we can. We also have some pre-submitted questions from when people RSVP'd that we will be answering today too. So we are just going to start with kind of an easier question is, what motivated you to pick your CS major? So for this one, if we could hear from all 4 of you, that would be incredible.
All right, I can go first. It's a kind of lame answer, but after taking a bunch of classes in high school, I didn't like anything all that much. Like I was kind of okay at math, but I didn't want like just doing math to kind of be what I did the rest of my life. My parents were kind of pushing for, either pre-med stuff or CS stuff. Really did not like bio, couldn't stand chem, and we don't even talk about physics. So I stuck with CS, happened to get in at UW, and kind of just, I'm stuck with that life now, and I'm very okay with it. So I would recommend that if that's what if you're undecided but kind of like math. It's a cool place to go.
I can actually continue off of that. I was originally on the pre-med track because I was a biochem major coming into Swarthmore. I had never coded before in my life. I didn't even like imagine like majoring in CS going to SWAT. I just took an intro class for fun because everyone recommended it at Swarthmore, and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked the professor who was teaching it. And I asked him, I was like, do you think I could switch into the CS major? And he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. I didn't really think pre-med was for me, so I just switched and I guess never looked back.
I can go next. For me, I really wanted to do CS coming out of high school, and I saw it kind of as more of a tool to build applications and build tools to help people. So that's kind of what gets me really excited about CS is how it can be used to help solve problems or to build new applications that help people every day.
And I can wrap up. So I grew up in Seattle, which is very much a tech bubble and was very much surrounded by CS tech people my entire childhood. And that's kind of what got me really interested in AI, but thinking a little bit more about like the ethical questions that are going to arise as AI is developing in the future. So that's why I have like a political philosophy, econ background as well as CS, because that's the area that I really want to get into in the future. And I wanted to have that quantitative technical background as well as just like the logic and computability skills that come with a CS degree.
Yeah, those are all very cool answers. Obviously, you all had different paths into how you became, interested in computer science. And we'll definitely talk a little bit more about this in the panel later on, but it seems like there are a lot of different ways that you can go with a CS degree that isn't just software engineering. So we will definitely be answering that later, maybe right after this. But one more question we have here about the CS programs is, could you talk a little bit more about the CS program at your respective schools? Is there a lot of flexibility with electives versus core classes? And just overall, how intensive of a program is it compared to other majors at your school? Maybe, let's see. I know potentially, Aman, your answer might be a little bit different from others. If you would like to actually explain to everyone why you have both Claremont McKenna and Harvey Mudd up on your screen, I think that would help a lot of people too.
Yeah. So I'm a student at Claremont McKenna. I'm a senior there. And CMC is part of like a 5-school consortium in Claremont, which is CMC, Pomona, Harvey Mudd, Pitzer College, and Scripps College. And as such, like each college kind of has its own specializations and its own majors. So CMC students, if they're interested in pursuing CS, can major through Harvey Mudd or even just take a few classes minor through Harvey Mudd, which is what I'm doing, as well as take like more integrated CS classes at their home school.
Would one of the other people like to talk about their CS programs at their schools?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer. So for Brown is known for having super lax requirements. People kind of joke about how you can take any class that you've ever wanted, but I would say that the CS major here would be one of the most kind of structured systems. So you have a few options. There's AB or SCB. If you do SCB, you have to complete 2 different pathways. And so those are like traveling down kind of slightly more specified, whether it's software engineering, AI, ML, those types of classes. So it ends up being possibly around like 12 to 14 credits, but you can take any of those classes, pass fail.
And then, John, could you actually elaborate a little bit more on what it means to take a class pass fail and like how that affects your GPA or your future like internship experiences and things like that?
Yeah, of course. So I'll also quickly mention that Brown has what's called the open curriculum. And that was kind of what I was mentioning about lacking in requirements. We don't really have any GE requirements. We have we have 2 literature requirements. One that you complete in your first and second year, and one that you complete in your third and fourth year. In terms of, we call it SNC, satisfactory no credit. Brown lets you take any class that you want SNC. You can actually take every single class here at Brown SNC throughout your entire career. And we actually don't have GPAs officially here at Brown. So on your transcript, I mean, maybe on your external transcript will you have a GPA, but it's not calculated internally or taken into consideration. And in terms of how that's affected me, I think for a lot of software jobs and stuff like that, I don't really have to upload transcripts. I do end up calculating my own GPA and putting it places if I'm asked to put it places, but I wouldn't say that it has had a big impact on things. And I think the flexibility of knowing that I can take a harder class or take something that I'm not as comfortable in and take it pass fail is really comforting.
I am so jealous about that. Shubu, I know that UW is quite different. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, hearing John kind of brag about the life at Brown was a bit tough for me because at UW, they're not so kind a lot of the time in terms of how harsh the grading can be. And I mean this specifically with intro and kind of like weed out classes. And this is true for not just CS. For a lot of classes, because all majors at UW, or most majors at UW, are capacity constrained. So they're hard to get into to varying degrees. And CS is considered one of the hardest. I know when I took like the first class I took at UW was 142. The name might have changed now, but it's one level past the first intro class. And that was insanely hard to get like a good grade in, despite the material not being as bad. I know now with some of my friends that are taking the intro class, there's a lot of like nitpicky, like comment related grading. And it's really more about forcing getting the grade to be difficult than it needs to be. However, on the other hand, if you do get into the major or end up taking these higher level classes later, the requirements aren't as strict. There's, I think, 5 core classes you need to take, and then you're just given a set number of electives to take at the 300 and 400 level over your next couple years, but you can pick whatever you want to. So how difficult you make your life is really up to you. But I think that some of the more rewarding classes you'll ever take are going to be at that 300 and 400 level.
I guess I can wrap up. I guess my experience is similar to John's. Swarthmore also has a pretty lenient program, so very different than UW. We only have 8 credits for the entire major that you need to fulfill, and one class at Swarthmore equals 1 credit. So essentially, you only need to take 8 CS classes to graduate, which is why I was able to switch in the end of my sophomore year. There's 3 intro classes that are a prerequisite into applying for the major, but basically, as long as you get like a C or higher in all 3 of those classes, you're guaranteed into the major. So although the intro classes are more readout E, you don't necessarily need to get a distinct grade in it to get into the major. And then all the other 5 classes you take, you have to fulfill like 1 in specific 3 groups. So there's a group 1, group 2, group 3 courses at Swarthmore. So group 1 are all theoretical. So that would be like algorithms or theory of computation. Group 2 is like systems based. So I took a compilers course for that. Group 3 are all the fun ones, which is like application. So people take like software engineering, and I took like a social computing class for that one. But I would say overall it's pretty lenient, and a lot of people, that's why a lot of people like will double major, because they have so much time to take other courses that they will be like double majors.
Thank you, everybody, for answering those questions. We have another question here, and I would love to know, for someone who actually doesn't know much about computer science, even for me, I feel like software engineering might just like be the only track, but it seems like from all of you and what you're talking about, there are a lot more paths. So I'd love to know if you had any internships or maybe co-op experiences at your schools, and if your school was able to facilitate the choice of that process for you.
I can go first here. So I took a pretty straightforward software engineering track. I'm now a software engineer, so there you go. But I know UW has a lot of career fairs, especially around like CS related stuff, and those are normally like open to CS majors first and then open to everyone else at the school like an hour or 2 after that. So I think it's a lot more self-driven around the CS related like job opportunity stuff. On the other hand, there's a lot of research opportunities. A lot of the professors at UW are like really distinguished in their fields. Like my operating systems professor, he is one of the original like writers of the Windows operating system. He like signed his initials on some files there, like, in like 1990 or whatever. So there's a lot of opportunities to research, and those are a lot more accessible with kind of like reaching out to professors and again, more on your own, but very doable. So that's kind of UW.
I will say I'm actually very jealous of UW's resources. Swarthmore is a very small school, and it's not pre-professional at all. So going into the CS major, I actually didn't know this. I think if I knew this, I don't know if I would have switched into the CS major, but most people who major in CS at Swarthmore end up going to grad school and doing research in CS, but not going into like software engineering or like a career route right out from postgrad. So as someone who doesn't want to go to grad school immediately and someone who doesn't want to do software engineering, it was really hard for me to find, I guess, like what I was interested in, because a lot of the courses that are offered at Swarthmore are very theoretical and there's not very many application-based courses. So like UX, UI, like I didn't like, you have to like find that outside the school if you want to be involved in anything like that. So I would say if you're really interested in like analysis and like theory and stuff like that, Swarthmore would be great for CS, but otherwise, I don't know, it's not like the best resource school.
I can go next. I'd say for Brown, it's pretty self-driven. I'd say that we have a career center, but they get so much traffic that it's kind of hard to make use of that. But we do have a lot of career fairs, and I find that employers reach out a lot more. So I actually transferred from Haverford College at the beginning of my junior year. So I've been here at Brown from junior year to senior year. And I kind of found that it was easier to have employers reach out to me or kind of like find those connections through Handshake here at Brown.
So I can talk a little bit about Harvey Med, but I haven't used a lot of those opportunities there. There are a lot of opportunities for CS research with faculty. And the thing that I've really enjoyed in all of my classes is that all of your classes are taught by faculty members themselves. And there are like teaching assistants or greeters for tutoring hours. But you really do have the opportunity to develop one-on-one relationships with all of your faculty members if you go to office hours or just in like small group work in classes. And that also makes it easier to build relationships through which you can get research opportunities on campus. All seniors majoring in CS and also choosing to do their like capstone in CS also can participate in like CS Clinic, which is a really cool aspect of like Harvey Med's education across majors as well. In those cases, like businesses and companies come to Harvey Med with a specific problem and actually have students work on that problem in real time. So you're under like faculty supervision or guidance, but it's really student driven to work on a real case with a real company. And that's a really cool learning opportunity as well.
Yeah, that is very cool. And I am just going to do one quick reminder for our audience here. If you have any questions that come up as we're all talking, go ahead and ask that in the Q&A. In the meantime, we are actually going to answer one of the pre-submitted questions here. And I'd love to just hear from like one or two of you, like what advice do you have for internships with someone with zero experience? And also networking. I think as a high school student, that is something that can be really difficult, is taking that next step to reach out to somebody to, help guide you through that process and that mentorship. So if we could just get like one or two opinions on that, that would be amazing.
I can speak. So I guess the biggest thing for me was just using and like getting to know people and talking to people, like using your network at college or even through high school or like friends that graduated ahead of you. If you don't have experience, you really want to show like the companies that you're looking for an internship with, that you're really ready to learn and that you're like excited about the opportunity, you're excited about the industry or whatever type of work you'll be doing. And the easiest way to just like get your foot in the door or just like start talking to people is making use of the networks that you already have built up for you. So for me, I relied on like my high school friends a lot, just talking to them, people who had graduated a few years in advance of me. And then also just getting in touch with my like career services center early at CMC and asking them like, are there grads that would be useful for me to just talk to? And even if it doesn't end up leading to like an internship opportunity or you decide that you're not a good fit for whatever type of work their company is doing, a lot of those just end up being really interesting and like energy producing conversations. So I would definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah, I think similarly, I've had to learn, I guess, how to network because I think in pre-med, that's not like your first instinct is to like be networking with people for internships, right? Because you're mostly doing like lab or clinical research. So that is like a skill I've had to learn over the past like year and a half. And definitely just having conversations as you meet new people is like so big. I would say when I switched into the CS major, a big like thing for me was talking to upperclassmen who already had like internship experience at like big companies, especially asking them like what is the industry like for them, like what is their advice, like how did they go about getting their like jobs and things like that. And yeah, making like use of the alumni network at your schools is like really big. Swarthmore, there's like not a huge like alumni network to look at, I guess, compared to like other big schools, but they are so much more likely to talk to you. Like I've almost like every single alum that I've reached out to has reached back and be like, I would love to have a conversation with you. And they're like so genuine and like want to help you. So I think that is like a very big thing at Swarthmore.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm down to hop in here too. So I think kind of the path I ended up taking was to just apply a lot. And obviously, I think connections are really helpful. Like I've gotten referrals from a lot of like upperclassmen friends, which I think like get you a foot in the door and like applying too. But searching for a job is a little bit different than applying to college because you're not only gonna apply to 17 or 10 or whatever your set number is. I think I applied to 150, 60, somewhere in there, internships. Ended up with one sophomore year, Amazon, as far as like official things go. I do think the most important thing is just getting stuff done and kind of down on your resume early. Like if it's not an internship that's panned out, personal project, like make something cool that you're interested in and you can talk about like naturally. Or if there's, some like smaller companies that can't maybe offer pay or benefits, but you can kind of get to work on a few things and like really interact with people that are experienced and working on a product. I think that that's a good place to start. And if you build your resume a little bit, it's easier to build your resume a lot more. So I think my advice would just be to not take the rejection too hard because it's almost always going to happen. And yeah, just you got to keep grinding at some point.
Thank you everyone for your input there. We're going to move on to the next question just because of time. Unless John, did you have something urgent you wanted to add?
I think pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Perfect. So then we will move on to this next question. This is an audience question and it is, I am currently a bio major and I want to explore CS, but I'm not sure how to and I feel very behind in my career path. If you're able to answer, how did you get into the career path with so many obstacles? And I know GC, you had touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you could just elaborate a little bit more on what was that moment you're like, okay, pre-med is not for me anymore?
I'm not going to lie, it's like pre-med at Swarthmore, like anywhere, it's like really difficult, but specifically at Swarthmore, it's like very weed outy. I guess similar to like maybe CS at UW. I just felt like there was not very much support from like faculty and staff from Swarthmore. And I realized that I didn't want to go to med school, but then my only other career option really was going into maybe like research, which I didn't want to do because I wanted to just kind of go into like a money making like career path like right out of college, honestly. So I was just like I said, I took the intro class and I found it very stimulating for me. Like I have always liked puzzles and math and things like that, and I felt like it aligned with my personality a lot. I will say that I did give up like a lot of things in terms of my Swarthmore experience to be able to switch into CS. Like I wasn't able to go study abroad like most of my friends were able to. I've had to really like lock in terms of picking my classes because I had to fit in so many more CS classes in a shorter amount of time while juggling like two minors. So it was not the easiest pathway, but it is possible at Swarthmore to switch to a different major even in your sophomore year. But I don't know if that's like the same like at other schools. So
I guess for this question, does anyone else have any experience? Like maybe you didn't switch majors yourself, but you might know of like how easy is it for someone to switch into different majors at your school?
I could answer this question from a transfer perspective. While I was doing CS at Haverford, part of the process of transferring your credits here at Brown is like you have to go through a review process and like kind of prove why each credit deserves to be this credit. And then they have the pathway system. So it ends up being some things don't count where you need it to go. So I feel like the past 2 years I've pretty much only taken CS, and it's definitely been a little bit, I'd say, frustrating because there's so many other great courses here that I'd love to take outside of the CS discipline. So yeah, I would just give a little warning to kind of, you might be limiting yourself in terms of what else you can experience.
Those are all really great insights. I'm seeing now we have actually a few more live questions from our audience I think we're gonna move on to. This first one is, what would you recommend for high school students to grow their computer science skills? So I think this is more getting at, before college, was there anything that maybe you wish you would have done to like kind of give yourself a head start? Or would you recommend just waiting until college?
I'm happy to take a stab at this one. So my high school didn't really offer any computer science at all, and I was super interested in learning how to build things. So I kind of just set out and like set goals about personal projects that I wanted to do, or came up with ideas and kind of got to work building them, like looking at W3 School and looking at all these like kind of templated pieces of code and just kind of digging into it and tried to start building stuff. And I think now that like we have ChatGPT, like these learning resources are so much more accessible. So I'd really suggest kind of like thinking about what you're passionate about and trying to come up with a project that can help kind of fuel your learning in that area as well as, build something that you're excited about.
I think I saw Shubu, you wanted to unmute a second ago. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I mean, I think John said it pretty well. I think that the best way to learn is you try to do something yourself and you kind of like struggle through it a little bit. You kind of figure out what doesn't work, but you figure it out like on your own kind of, and like you gain like that's like the most realistic experience of like what it's like to be a software engineer anyway. So I think that's pretty generally helpful. Other than that, I know a lot of schools post curriculum online for like some versions of like their intro classes and stuff. So I know all the kids now have ChatGPT for whatever to answer questions and explain stuff, but there are like slightly more traditional resources out there too. I think Berkeley is pretty good about posting stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think those can be helpful generally.
Very cool. Thank you. And we actually just had another question that I'm just going to tack on because it's pretty similar. But we have a high school junior who's listening in who is planning on taking dual enrollment classes next year related to CS at their community college. And they were wondering if possible, if they had any just advice or suggestions on what classes they could take, or just like overall advice on that type of path. I don't know if anyone did that themselves or if they would have knowledge on what that would look like.
Yeah, I can kind of start with this. I also did dual enrollment when I was in high school, but obviously I didn't know I was doing CS. But kind of knowing the dual enrollment pathway, I would say you're most likely only going to have time to be able to take a lot of intro classes probably. I don't know how many credits you're taking or like what the courses are like at your community college, but definitely start with intro classes for sure. Don't try to like I don't even know if your college would let you skip intro classes, but like at Swarthmore there's three. It's like Intro to CS, which is like Python based, Intro to Computer Systems, which is like C or C++, I don't remember. And then there's also Data Structures and Algorithms intro class. So I would say if you can kind of dip your toes in all three aspects, maybe like learn multiple languages if possible during your like high school years. Like I would say maybe like that would be the best route. If you can definitely take like an algorithms class, that would be really good before going into college. And that would maybe like make your app like an application stand out more in terms of like the courses you're taking. I know that colleges typically tend to offer more types of CS classes than like high schools would, because I think high schools there's like AP, like that's it. So just like try to diversify the types of classes you take, I guess.
I would actually love to expand on this point too, is like in terms of AP classes and IB classes, I feel like in high school for a lot of people, that's like all they heard, right? Is like you got to take as many AP and IB. I'd love to know actually for each of your individual schools, were you able to have those credits transfer over? Like how helpful were they in the end for you? And I think this is one, let's get an answer from all four of you.
I can go first. UW, I had a lot of APs transfer over. I think APCS lets you skip the very intro level CS class. And I think Calculus AB lets you skip the first calculus level math class. I don't think any of my English credits transferred, but I only took AP Lang. But yeah, honestly, just being able to not take one extra weed out class is pretty nice. But I also will say, if you get into UW directly for your major, you'll have a lot of time to do whatever you want. It's, I think, designed to be like a 2.5 year program, so it shouldn't be too much of a concern.
So at CMC, you're not able to transfer in AP credits, for credit in college, but those can help you just get advanced placement into like the next level of classes. So like if you've taken AP Calc, you can just like start in a higher level math class or a higher level language class or whatever, but you're not going to be able to like skip classes or get out of graduation like requirements.
I think Swarthmore is pretty much very similar. If you score, I think like a 5 on the AP CS exam, you're allowed to skip CS 21, which is our very first intro level course, but you don't get credit for that towards graduation. You're just like able to take more classes, I guess. And another thing, I guess, with Swarthmore is that because there's so many CS students, but not very many classes in faculty, you can only take 5 upper level CS credits. Like you cannot take more than 5. So if you just want to get like your credits done earlier, I guess if you had like the AP credit, that would help. But in terms of myself, my high school didn't have like an AP or IB program, and that's why I did do it to take more advanced classes in high school. But none of my credits transferred, even though I tried to get them transferred to Swarthmore. So I basically just started from ground zero. But again, like I didn't take any CS classes, so it didn't matter in the end.
I think it's a similar situation here at Brown. My high school also did not offer AP or IB. I believe that I think the CS website might be a better reference than me, but I believe that there's a placement exam that you would have to take, and knowledge from that would be helpful, or knowledge from the AP or IB would be helpful in that placement.
Yeah, actually, that reminded me. Swarthmore also has a placement exam too for incoming freshmen. If you didn't take, like, let's say your high school didn't have like the AP CS course, or like you just didn't take it, but you know basic Python, you're able to essentially take the final exam for that CS 21 class. And if you like pass it, then you're able to skip the course coming into Swarthmore.
So hopefully that answers that question. So we have about 20 minutes left here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to answer just one more question on this end, and then afterwards we are going to transition into more questions about, student life, finding that student balance as a CS major too, as well as just learning more about your individual lives, because as we know, you are all CS majors, but that is not everything you do at school. So this last one, if we could actually just get one person to answer this one. I don't know, for anyone who took the AP Computer Science A exam, what would you recommend to prepare for it? I don't know, did anyone take that?
I took it. Granted, this was like half a decade ago, so maybe dated information. But I don't know, I just did all the practice exams you had, and like I think the Barons, or I forgot whatever company, but they come out with books. I think the Barons tended to be a little bit harder than the actual exam, but I don't know. I wouldn't go into it using that as like a feel-good mechanism. But I think if you just grind practice exams and kind of fill in gaps, it's good enough.
Cool. Thank you very much. And we are now going to move on to more lifestyle questions. So the first question I have for you all is, how big is the CS culture at your school? Are there any school-related clubs or like ECs that you recommend students to join? If not, how else do you get more information about CS as well as other resources?
I'm happy. Oh, go ahead if you.
You can rate
s-
after.
Sounds good. Thank you. So at Brown, there's I think the statistic is like 2/5 of the school or 3/5 of the school end up taking at least one CS class. So CS is pretty embedded into Brown's culture, and there's numerous kind of clubs revolving around that, whether it's we have a club that's like a project management club where people who want apps built submit their apps, and then they get a team of developers and a product manager to create that app for them. We also have what's called the Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. It's a dedicated building and space for entrepreneurship. It doesn't necessarily center around tech, but that's kind of one of their main focuses. And so, yeah, it's really kind of embedded in the culture. And I think you'll find a lot of students who are really excited about being a part of CS.
Yeah, I think similarly at Swarthmore, it's like one of the most highly recommended courses, I guess, in your time at SWAT, like the intro CS class. So most people, even though they haven't taken CS courses like coming into college, they will take the intro class because it's a requirement to graduate to take a lab course at Swarthmore. So a lot of people will choose to take the intro CS course as their lab course to graduate. But in terms of community, I would say it's a small school, so you basically know every other CS major in your year and other years. We only have one hall, like wing, I guess, for the department. So you'll pass by the same people like almost every day, like in your classes. And I've pretty much recognized every single person in all my classes because we almost take the same succession of classes too throughout like our 2, 3 years of taking courses in the CS department. So I would say if that's something like you're interested in, like Swarthmore definitely has a really strong sense of community in the CS department. We have something called ninjas, which are the TAs for our courses. So as a student, once you've taken a class, you can apply to be a ninja, which is you're just helping tutor students taking that class the next semester or whatever. So you do get help for a lot of the intro level courses in terms of that. And in terms of extracurriculars, like I said, we're not a pre-professional school, but it's starting to become a little bit more cohesive because there's a lot of push from students to get more funding for pre-professional programs at Swarthmore right now. I won't get to see any of them since I'm graduating, but like there's like a Google Scholars Club or Google Developers, sorry, club. Like I was a part of Tech for Social Good and we built like a website that's like used on campus right now. Like you can basically find it anywhere. Like it is going to be like self-initiation on your part. Like clubs aren't just going to like ask you to join them. You kind of have to find them on your own. There's a lot of niche ones, but there is stuff out there for you to get involved in, I guess.
I can go next. So Harvey Mudd is a very like small engineering school, and CS is one of the biggest departments. So Harvey Mudd definitely has like a huge CS culture. But even at CMC, the students who are involved in the CS program become a very tight-knit community, kind of like what GC was saying at a liberal arts college. It's already a small school, and then you know the people who are taking the same classes and in the same programs as you. CMC also has like a Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship and a lot of funding going into like programs that support students who want to get more involved in tech. And they're working on like a new integrated science department that's going to be open this fall. Again, I won't get to see it, but it's a really cool, exciting opportunity for people applying in this next cycle.
And then one, I'd also love to know for Claremont McKenna, because it is part of that consortium, how do your clubs work and these resources? Like, for example, if you are a Claremont McKenna student, would you be able to join a club that's technically at Harvey Mudd, or would you be restricted to just Claremont McKenna clubs?
Yeah, so there's kind of a combination of both. There are a lot of clubs that are open to all 5Cs. And then there are clubs that are specific to your college. Like, for example, that Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. There's some programs within that that prioritize CMC students, but we have a lot of like Harvey Mudd students involved in that as well. And likewise at Harvey Mudd, like there's some programs, like some clubs that prioritize Mudd students. But once you're majoring at Mudd, you're considered like equally a CS like program member. So if you're a Harvey Mudd major, then you can really access any of the clubs and programs that you want.
And I can wrap up the section here. Hub's pretty big and it's also crazily funded. Like we got a fancy new building a couple years ago. Like Bill Gates put his name on there, so you can imagine it looks kind of nice. We have like a Bezos auditorium in there too. So it's literally a bunch of billionaires kind of fighting for naming stuff. So yeah, it's well funded. Like it's pretty structured too. There's a lot of like nice study areas. A lot of the CS like students tend to just bubble into that building, and we have half the E building too, but don't tell them I said that. Other than that, we also have this ACM club. I think every CS student pays $5 one time and they're in it for their whole 4 years. They put on like a fall fest, winter ball, those kind of events for the major. And we also have this gigantic RSO fair that's like open to all of UW, where people can walk up to clubs that are tabling in Red Square and put their name down for interest forums. And each club has their own like rules for participation and stuff. But that would be the best place to kind of see other clubs you want to participate in. Personally, I didn't really do any other CS stuff except for the what I needed to get through school. But UW does have a lot of opportunities and a lot of interesting like, organizations around tech related stuff.
Well, thank you everyone for your answers. I think we have about time for one or two more questions. So one that I would love to ask you all is we've already established that CS is definitely kind of an intensive major, all four of these schools, but I'd love to know, what do you like to do outside of CS to help you decompress or make you feel like you have more of like a work-life balance at school? This could be parts of your campus that you like to hang out in or things like that that really help you feel more balanced as a student.
I can start this one. The biggest one for me, I think, is just getting outside. I think there's like the trope about CS majors that all we do is like sit in front of our computers and code and like we're just in like a room like at all times, right? So I think getting outside is like really big at Swarthmore because our campus is on an arboretum, which means our campus is a garden essentially. So there's a lot of nature, a lot of trees, flowers, a lot of like walking pathways. So just like getting outside and taking a walk in between maybe like lab and then working on like a program or something like that. It's like very nice to just spend time with friends outside and soak in some sun whenever we get it. Or if it's like not like an actual activity, I would honestly say like giving myself room to take classes other than CS is like really big so that all my academics aren't overloaded with CS. That's why I really like the liberal arts education at Swarthmore because my minors are my actual like interests outside of like CS. CS is very technical and for like my career, but my personal like interests align with like linguistics and environmental studies. So I find those classes to be a lot more interesting as well. And getting a break from coding and staring at a screen is like really nice.
I can go. So I'm a dual major. Well, actually, so I'm a PPE major at CMC. So a lot of my classes are not CS, and that's like a nice academic balance for me that I did like really intentionally because I like kind of having more reading writing based classes as well as more like problem set based classes as well. But outside of like academics, I think just getting involved in like other sorts of clubs or other sorts of activities that have nothing to do with academics is also really nice. And just meeting people in other contexts, whether that's like through playing sports or like going on hikes, or I'm in like close to LA, so we end up at the beach fairly often. But just again, like getting in touch with nature and just like doing things that are purely for fun or relaxation. I think that's really important as a college student, but especially if you're in a really intensive major program.
All right, thanks, John. I was personally just played a lot of sports when I wasn't in school or quarantined at home for COVID. That was pretty fun. I joined the Husky Tennis Club and got pretty involved with that my whole time in school. And that was most of my honest like time outside of CS related stuff. But I think like general advice is college is like probably one of the craziest places you'll ever go to in terms of like the assortment of people you'll meet. You'll like meet people from like backgrounds that you just couldn't like fathom from the bubble you grew up in. And like you get these crazy perspectives and like life stories and like you'll become friends with people you wouldn't be friends with in any other world except for going to that school with them. And I think that it's honestly super important to like explore just like all the new stuff and new people and like even just exploring stuff that you might or might not enjoy, but your friends enjoy. Like you'll have a lot of crazy first experiences in college. And I think going out of your way a little bit to see what they are is like you'll look back and think, oh, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I totally want to echo that point. And also, I think some of the most fun times I've had are just like randomly getting dragged away from doing work to like go hang out on the main green or like play spike ball or it's sunny, let's go play tennis out right now. So I'd say just like leaning into those like happy and kind of sporadic fun moments, I think is super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely echo what you all said. I think as someone who graduated from college last year, when you're looking back on college, I don't remember, the times I was up till 1 a.m. studying or that one, less than ideal grade that I got. What I really look back on is the people I met, that community that I built. So I would say overall advice is to just enjoy it because it's going to be really hard to find another time in your life where all of your best friends live 2 minutes from you, where you could just go on a whim and ask them to hang out at 10 p.m. or get, milk tea or boba on a Wednesday night. So I'd say that is 100% what I miss about college the most. We have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to turn it over to Jason, who is my co-founder, and he has some exciting news for everyone who stayed for the rest of this panel. So take it away, Jason.
Hello, I'm Jason. I'm the said co-founder. I'm gonna put John on the spot a little bit here and embarrass him, but he actually left out the fact that he's an awesome DJ. So I used to go to Haverford with John back in the day, and he used to be the life of the party with his DJ skills. So should have left that in, John. But anyways, I'm very excited to announce a couple of things. The first is the next week's event that we have coming up. It is Women Transforming Healthcare. We have some very cool perspectives of people who are currently in undergrad and studying to become doctors. We have people who are in med school, and then we have people who are actual healthcare professionals. So if you're looking to go into the field of healthcare, this is a great panel of some powerful women who are helping transform healthcare. Beyond that, I actually have a surprise announcement, and I'm going to actually share my screen because we're about to preview the product that we have at Menti that's coming out very soon. Here it is. I won't say much. I think I explained it in the video, but here's a little bit of a teaser of what's to come very soon. Hey everyone, I'm Jason, the COO and co-founder of College Menti. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what our platform is going to look like as it comes out very, very soon. So above you can see some of our college students. We honestly get it because college is a big decision. And very few people know how to actually make this decision with the absolute certainty that you're making the right choice for you and your college future. So this is perfect for students who are struggling to envision what their life will look like in college or are even confused about where to start in the college discovery process. What we do is we connect you with a personalized mentor who can give you insights that are most relevant to you as you transition from high school to college. And these insights can even enhance your college application. Okay, great. So now I actually want to get started. So I'll check out our different services that we offer. At the moment, we're only offering one-on-one meetings, but we do have specialized workshops, which is a feature we're very excited about and is coming out very soon. So now you can scroll down and actually view some of our mentors. We have over 100 at over 50 different schools now, which has been really awesome to work with all these great people. And I already have an account, so actually let me just log in. And perfect, here you can see my account. You can see how many credits I have, and we even ask a little questionnaire at the beginning of your onboarding process that gets a little bit of an idea of where you're at in the college process, where your interests might lie, and what you might want to study. We do this because we feel like there's a lack of personalization in the college research process, and we think it's actually a real problem. And we want to address that by making sure this experience is tailored to you. So now you can browse through our network of different mentors. As you can see, we have a bunch from a bunch of different schools. So to sort through this page, we can go through our different filters, and we have a lot of different college filters. We also have filters about mentor characteristics. For example, I can sort by people who are international student, first generation, or are participating in athletics. We even have some admissions data on these colleges. So you can actually even filter your search by college acceptance rate, which I'm about to do so right now, around 25%. And let's say that I'm also looking to talk to a first generation college student. And the more I think about it, I really want to talk to somebody who goes to Yale, so I'm going to put that in as well. Now, let's say I want to take it even one step further and get even more granular. I can actually do that and filter by people who are only in STEM. I see there's Joanna and Madison, and I can favorite both of them as some of my saved mentors. So this is great, and if I'm curious, I can even go into Joanna's profile and read a little bit more about her. We really try to humanize all of our mentors here at Menti, so I can see that she likes binge watching TV shows, cooking, going to the gym, and so much more. I'm interested, I can request a meeting. I have around 40 credits left, so it means I can use 10. Confirm that, and I should automatically be redirected to a Calendly page so that I can actually schedule my meeting with Joanna. So now I successfully booked my meeting with Joanna, so I can go back to my profile and I can actually view some of my other saved mentors. And I remember that Madison was also of interest, so I can actually click in and read a little bit about her and potentially book a meeting if I am interested. So thanks so much for tuning into this quick promo video. Menti is coming out very soon. We're super excited to launch, and if you have any questions at all or recommendations or feature ideas, please reach out to me. I'm putting my phone number up on the screen right now. Any feedback is definitely welcome, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
So that was the little sneak peek into what we have going on. And Jason, I'm going to let you give that special announcement for everyone who stayed to the end here and be the bearer of great news.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for staying. If you made it to the end, you will all receive a free meeting on our platform when it does launch on March 27th. Thanks so much for coming here. We're really happy to have you all here and begin to hopefully help envision what your life might look like in college. I know it can be an exciting, potentially stressful time. And here at Menti, our mission is really just ease that transition and help you all out with the process. I know it was difficult for me. So yeah, definitely looking to help in any way that we can. So if you made it this far, you'll be getting a free meeting. You're already on our list. We'll be reaching out to you afterwards with further details about this. But besides that, you want to end it off?
I'm gonna say every one of our mentors that you've seen today, first of all, round of applause for all of you. That was such a fun panel to be a part of, and I really appreciate your time. For our audience, if you would like to speak further with any of our mentors, you are welcome to book a meeting with them. You'll be able to see them all on that dashboard where you could learn a little bit more about their individual experiences, and they could answer more of your personalized questions too. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Like Jason said, our next event is centered around healthcare and it will be same time next week. Great.
Oh, I dropped my number in the chat, so if anybody wants to contact me about any feature ideas, please let me know. I'm always looking for feedback.
All right. Thank you everybody and have a great rest of your day. Bye everyone.